Good morning, my friends. Welcome back to the channel. I've been waiting on this day for quite a while, and I am very excited. Today, we are doing the intercooler piping and the intercooler for the all-wheel drive FK8. We did get a intercooler from Speed Factory, and that should be a huge help. So let's go ahead and open that up, try to do a quick mock-up on the car. If we have to modify it, it is what it is, but I'm hoping we can just build some mounts and brackets for the intercooler and then build all the piping. So here is the big beefy Speed Factory intercooler that we are running. I think it's I want to say it's a 4-inch, 3.5 inch. That should be plenty. Back door, similar to how the stock FK intercooler is. Let's assemble a few more pieces up front, get the bumper beam on and whatnot, and we can start doing some mock-ups. Right off the bat, there's no way the factory bumper support is gonna work with a big old intercooler on this car. So either we need to heavily modify the intercooler, pretty much chop off the inlet and outlet and move them way up, or build a new bumper support. I think building a new bumper support is gonna be the easiest and most simple solution. It's obviously gonna be a lot of work, but it's what we gotta do. I'm running into a problem, and it's a fairly significant problem. We have a backdoor intercooler, as I showed you guys, but unfortunately the back doors don't even come close to fitting around the AC condenser and the radiator. So the options, the only option if I wanted to use this intercooler, I guess there's two options. Number one, we'd have to get a smaller AC condenser and a smaller radiator. I just bought a brand new Koyo rad, so I don't want to do that. Option two, somehow cut off the end tanks and remake them. Or option three is just to start over from scratch with a different intercooler. And that is what I think I'm going to do. Of course, this is a fairly spendy intercooler and I don't want to mess it up. I'm sure there's 1,000 other projects that we can use it on in the future. So for now, we're not going to do intercooler stuff. I'm going to wait for a different intercooler to come in, and that'll give us a much easier starting point. So I guess what that leaves us with is taking a look at my list here. There's only so much of this we can do. A lot of the stuff we can't do yet because we're still waiting on parts. I think the main thing I want to focus on now is just completely finishing up the entire exhaust system on the car. We already have the dump tube made for the wastegate. If you guys watched yesterday's video, you would have seen that. She dumps out the front, comes out right there. Pretty sick little design. The exhaust manifold is done, the downpipe is done, but we don't have anything from the downpipe to the back of the car. And it's gonna be a tricky one, but we have all the time in the world with this build. So let's get this thing up in the air and let me kind of show you guys what I'm thinking we're gonna do for a catback. So our downpipe runs to right there, and then we have another pipe, which I guess you'd consider it a test pipe. That's gonna stop right about here. So as you can see, that's where it's ended at right now. I was undecided whether or not we're gonna go below or above the driveline. I was gonna attempt to go above the driveline, above the viscous. We'd have to split this into two separate pipes. One would run on each side, but I figured that's a lot of work when we could just do something else. This, my friends, is what you call a 3-inch oval pipe. As you can see, 3-inch oval tubing. So this is gonna allow us about an extra inch, I believe, of ground clearance. And she gonna sit like that. Cool. That should do the trick. So we need to make this come down. We do need to add in a clamp up here so we can separate the whole exhaust system from one another. And we do need to add in a flex joint up here somewhere as well. And then we can get moving and get cracking on the rest of the exhaust. If you're ever struggling with ground clearance, look into oval tubing. It is quite a bit more expensive, but it saves you some space. First thing on the mission is get this to come down a little bit. Let me show you guys what I'm gonna do there. All right, here is what we ended up with. I need to pull off that little test pipe, get it fully welded up, and then we can go from there all the way to the back with the oval. Our little test pipe is all finished up. You can tell my welds are getting a little bit better, slowly but surely. There's one I just laid. There's one from about a week ago. As a whole, pretty stoked. Looking freaking beautiful under here. So the main goal with everything is to keep it above the side skirts, or at least level. I don't want it to hang down any lower if possible. The only thing that may hang down a tiny bit is our flex joint right here. So this guy, before I move on to the oval, I'm gonna put this flex joint right up in here, something like that. So I need to build a little, maybe a 1-inch piece here. It's gonna go right into this flex joint. From this guy to the diff, we're gonna convert to the oval. Got the V-band on, we got our flex in to go from a round to an oval. They make this little adapter. So this is gonna go plop right in to the flex pipe like that. And then from here to about here is gonna be this oval. In order to make an extra little space, maybe 3/8 of an inch, I'm gonna shave these lips down right there, there, and there. I know it's not much, but every little bit's gonna matter. That'd be a massive rattle point, so I'm just gonna go ahead and take care of it now. I went ahead, got the viscous mounts shaved down on this one side, so we have about an extra half inch of clearance now. Next thing I'm gonna do is tack on this adapter, the round to oval adapter, onto the flex joint. And then it looks like we're only gonna need about 4 feet of the oval pipe. From here back, we should be able to convert back to circular. And I don't think I'm gonna go under the diff just because it would hang down super far. We can go over the whole entire rear subframe and then come back down the other side. But for now, let's get this section built up. I think these are some of my best welds yet. We're getting there, boys. We are getting there. Moving right along. So we are all the way to back here now. I think this is probably at most ½ inch lower than the side skirt. As you can see, we literally cannot get any more space. I'm a little bit worried that it's gonna rattle, but with this flex joint here, that should take care of all of the play in the engine so it doesn't move the rest of the exhaust. That's at least what I'm hoping for. I'm gonna add a hanger up here. I'm gonna add a hanger back here. I think I'm probably gonna go ahead and do that now before we build from here back. So like I said earlier, the plan is to come out here. We're gonna adapt back to a regular 3 inch, and my plan is to go above because if we went below the diff, it would by far be the lowest point of the car and we would destroy it immediately. All right, we just got 2 hangers slopped up on this mid-pipe section here. So now we can focus on converting back to a traditional circle and going up and over. That piece is gonna be tacked on, that's gonna be tacked on, and then I think I'm gonna slap a V-band on this end up here. I'm kidding, that sits like that. Everything is fully tacked up. I need to pull off this whole entire section, fully weld that on, fully weld that, weld that, weld that. As you can see, I started burning holes even just trying to tack it. So hopefully that weld turns out decent. And then the V-band is gonna be strategically placed right up there. The exhaust is back up in the car. Now the next hard part, which is almost as hard as the downpipe situation that we had, trying to get a pipe to fit through here. If it'll focus, I would show you guys how much space we have. We ain't got shit. So I might have to do some clearancing on the floorboard, but basically we need to build a pipe that connects that to that. And then as soon as we come out the other side, it's easy. Got a muffler, got some tips, and we're done. This has got to be one of the most difficult things I've done, but I am making some progress. I'm gonna pull this section back out, get it tacked up. Of course, this end needs to be sliced off, and then it's gonna go like that. But like I said earlier, we ain't got much space up in there. I'll show you in a minute what I actually had to do to make this fit. So I got the section that's going above the rear subframe all tacked up, V-band, 90, 45, and a straight piece that I squished the ever-living shit out of to get to fit. This is gonna be a bitch to tack or to weld up. Of course, if you have a fit like that, it goes much easier, but unfortunately, when you squish a pipe at home with your little press, you don't get the best fit in the world. So I might try to hammer that in, try to make it look a little bit better. But yeah, that's where we're at. I'm gonna go put that back up in the car, make sure it fits, get it fully welded up, and then we can move on to the muffler section. What a pain in the ass. Just confirmed that it fit up in the car. Now let's see about welding up the biggest gap in the world. I want to show you guys something funny. So here's a weld with a big ass gap, right? Terrible, shitty looking. And if your fit up is proper, it'll look a little bit something like that. I know that ain't perfect, but for my first system ever, I'm getting better. So the ticket is for a good weld, or a better weld, is good fit up. I'm gonna slap this guy back on the car, figure out where we need to trim this end. Don't mind my squishiness. We had no other option. And then we're gonna pop a 90 off that right to the muffler, which the muffler we're running, I just picked up a Vibrant Street Power Oval Performance muffler. So hopefully it sounds decent. If not, we can always change the muffler setup. The hard part's gonna be done already, but I think this Vibrant muffler should sound good. I'm gonna trim this pretty much as short as possible. So right when it comes over the subframe, I'll trim it there, and then we'll come down and bam, right to the muffler. I do not have the tips yet, unfortunately. And of course the muffler's not gonna sit that low, but we did order up some nice tips. It's gonna be just like factory, triple tip back there. So as soon as that comes in, we can get that finished up. But for now, we can get everything else done with the exhaust. So the muffler's gonna sit something like that. We have a 45 degree in there, and we need to build a little something to connect the two. But I don't wanna fully mount the muffler until we have the tips here. I don't know if it needs to go forward or back. I try to put just a little piece of pipe in there to kind of get a rough idea, but I want it to be as perfect as possible, especially the main part of the exhaust is what you're going to be seeing is the tips. And if those are sticking 10 feet out or way in, it's going to look weird. So I'm going to end this right here. Let's take a quick overview of the full entire exhaust. And if you're going to squish your exhaust like I had to do, I would highly recommend doing it last. For example, we should have had this welded on, had everything up front welded on, and then ran it through the press, got it all squished up, just so we can get those welds a little bit better. But that's where it's ended. It runs up and over the subframe and the diff way up there. It looks like it's hitting the floorboard, but I promise you it's not. We got about probably an inch of clearance up there. Runs down, underneath the whole car. Of course, this can be rotated up, so that's not the lowest part. And then it goes to the downpipe. Up here, way up there, up to the turbo, and then we have the dump tube that comes down. I have no idea how many hours I'm into this project, this full exhaust system. Absolutely ridiculous how long it's taking, just because there's so many tight areas to run the exhaust. Of course, this car was not made for a driveline, and the factory setup where our current driveline is where the factory exhaust ran. And of course, factory, there wasn't a rear diff, so it ran underneath the subframe. And of course, factory, there wasn't a T-case that you had to go around either. So a lot of new parts that we have to build the exhaust around, but I'm glad I stuck with it. I was gonna have Ranch Built do it. Ranch Built's the place that did the exhaust manifold work. And I'm sure they could have done it a lot better than I could have. But all in all, it's been a really fun project, and I'm glad I stuck with it. And we are almost done. From here on out, it should be really easy. Build a little pie cut piece to connect to the muffler, get the tips welded on, get some more hangers installed, and then we're done with the exhaust. Insane. This car's coming right along, and I cannot freaking wait to start it up and drive it. I know we're like 34, 35 episodes deep. It's taking way longer than I ever thought it would or could possibly imagine it would take, but our list is getting smaller. This is what we have. Plumb wastegate. We need to vent the other tank. Some random hardware pieces that we need to do. Catch can, boost control, intercooler piping and intercooler. Well, the bung on for the downpipe. Some shifter stuff, some interior stuff. And then I need help from my boy with the fuel pump trigger, the fuel level, the cam trigger, and the fan trigger in the Hall Tech. And then we can drive it, hopefully. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'm gonna wrap it up right here. Hopefully this video is interesting. All I gotta say is if you're gonna attempt to do something yourself, don't be a little pansy and just do it. Of course, that's easy for me to say, coming out the other end of it and being damn near done with the exhaust, but I can assure you, when I first started this exhaust, the downpipe especially, I had no idea what I was doing. But now we're here. Also, if you're gonna do your own exhaust and you have a bunch of bends that you need to make, Ace Parts is where I picked up all of the mandrel bends. They sell 30s, 45, 90s. They sell a bunch of different ones, so go check them out. It is expensive, but well worth it. All right, homies, hope you enjoyed. Peace out, my good friends, and I'll see you boys in the next episode.